Welcome back to LePodcast episode 55. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saney, and the infamous ZZ Huncho. News broke out the other day that Ja Morant was accused of punching a 17-year-old boy in the head repeatedly during a pickup game. Morant and his friend hit the teen hard enough to send him to the ground and left him with a large knot on the side of his head, according to deputies who observed the injuries. This is the guy that Nike wanted for Kyrie? Really?
I saw the perfect post by Basketball Forever where it was a side-by-side Kyrie and Ja, and they were talking the same thing you just said where Nike dropped Kyrie for Ja, and on top of it, it said Kyrie posted a link to an Amazon book or something, like something on Amazon Prime. Ja beat a kid with a 17-year-old, and it was like, guess who got the signature shoe?
I didn't even mention the other accusation too with the gun. I mean, it's like nasty stuff. People have made memes. He's trying to speed run, getting himself out the league and into the hood. Like, I don't.
He's the only guy to make it out the NBA.
He's got some bad influences around him, man. Like,
oh, 100%. Like, I agree with Shannon Sharpe. I know Shannon Sharpe loves to go at the Grizzlies for being like wannabes. I'm not going to go into that discussion. I'm not going to accuse them of anything. I don't know what their life was like growing up. Don't think that's what I'm saying. But what I am going to say is it's an accusation at the end of the day. I'm not going to go at Ja Morant for anything he's done yet because we've seen accusations that turned out to be false. Ultimately, when it comes to an athlete, when you're making millions of dollars, they're prone to getting false accusations. Sometimes it's true, though. I'm not defending every accusation made to an athlete.
You got to monitor it. You got to think about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'm not going to base my opinion on Ja Morant over a bunch of Twitter guys, right? Or a bunch of tweets. So I'm not going to say anything towards Ja Morant as a person, but I am going to say if this is true, it is a very bad look because for you to fight an underage guy and pull a gun on him in a pickup game when you are who you are, you're already established. It's not like a report coming from 10 years ago, Ja got into a fight with some random guy at a pickup game. That's different because there's different situations, right? But when you're put in a position, and if it is true and you do that and you risk it all over a 17-year-old, that's different, right? So what I'm going to say is if it is true, very bad luck on Ja, but I don't want to judge Ja yet because we haven't seen the full story.
Hey, I agree. I was just going to say I agree with Sandy on the fact that there are a lot of false accusations that go around with these players making multi-million-dollar deals every three and a half years. And because we only know what's on the surface, I am going to just say this from a perspective of somebody who is an NBA fan. I'm going to say this from a perspective of somebody that does a podcast with two other goofballs. And for us, it's like, this is a really bad look when you are taking into account the fact that the Grizzlies are already the most hated team in the league. So why are they the most hated team in the league? Well, cockiness, arrogance, walking around like they won 5 championships straight, things like that, right? So when I'm looking at the Kyrie situation, though, Basketball Forever had a point where it's like Nike dropped Kyrie Irving, the greatest, one of, if not the greatest ball handlers of all time, one of the greatest finishers of all time,
one of the greatest Nike shoes of all time.
Literally dropped him.
I got the SpongeBob pack back on my shelf. I love those shoes.
I will never forgive Nike for getting rid of Kyrie. It's like genuinely every single Kyrie, like I've worn them. I used to hoop in them all the time. I can't anymore because they're not on shelves, right? Everyone was a hit, right? Like I hate the fact that I like have to pay extra because Kyries are dead stock. And I'm blessed that back when the Kyrie 1s and the Kyrie 2s were coming out, I was buying them because it is like, bro, to get a clean pair of Kyrie 1, Kyrie 2s, Kyrie 3s, whatever, knowing that Nike will never drop like a retro pair, blows my mind, by the way. I know this is off topic. Curry 2s are already getting dropped as retro pairs. Like, right? I remember the Curry 2 getting dropped, and they're dropping a retro Curry 2
and no one's
pair. Like,
they're considered, up, bro.
Bro, honestly, I will. I had the Curry 2 All-Stars. They were beautiful to ball in, bro. Curry actually has some sick shoes.
He has some really great shoes.
They're really fun. They're like, especially if you're like a guy who plays like Curry. I'm not gonna say I am Curry, but I do like to just run around and shoot the ball. No. A guy like
he ain't
that,
lying.
Like,
he's not lying.
On some random shit, you know what I mean? Like I'm just doing some like chuck it from half court. I'm not making it, but that's how I'm playing, right?
That's me.
Curry's are the
bro.
best. Curry's are actually the best to play in.
You guys, any of my
I had the
friends.
Curry 2 All-Stars because my brother lived in Toronto when Toronto had the All-Star game, right? So they were selling the Curry 2 All-Star editions, and they were like one of my favorite shoes of all time. So it makes me feel weird knowing a shoe that I got growing up is now a retro shoe, and knowing that I'll never get a retro Kyrie now. They're not going to drop them again because Nike decided to drop them. Irritates me because they're backing a guy like Ja Morant just because of his fans, right? But like, it just goes to show how much media, like if you're a media favorite, how much you can get away with, and if the media hates you, how much you can lose.
And on top of that, like for Basketball Forever to make that post, it's straight up facts. You take a situation from Kyrie Irving where Kyrie Irving retweeted something, right, that some people deemed as anti-Semitic. So in my view of it, it's like if someone sees a headline and they run with it, if you're a Kyrie Irving, right, everybody already knows that off the court is where the majority of your problems as a NBA player happen, right? So a lot of people are automatically I guarantee you more than half of those people didn't even look at the tweet itself. I guarantee you more than half of those people didn't even click the link themselves. They just said, oh, this is what the media is saying. Kyrie's anti-Semitic. Yeah, it makes sense. No. At the end of the day, we sat here on the show and said, we all don't think Kyrie's anti-Semitic. Kyrie came out and said he wasn't anti-Semitic. Protests were coming out helping Kyrie Irving's case, right? In this situation, Kyrie Irving gets dropped, and then Ja Morant is the next guy. Everybody already had a problem with it as soon as it happened because everybody was like, you dropped Kyrie for Ja. Now, 2.5 weeks later, on top of that, Powerade, right? I don't know about y'all. Did y'all see that Powerade advertisement? Ja Morant's the new spokesperson for Powerade. So
with the comments turned off.
Exactly. Now let me get back to Nike for a second. Nike, now the ball's in your court, buddy. You want to drop Kyrie Irving off of a tweet, but every time I'm drinking a blue Powerade, I'm gonna think to myself, damn, Ja two-piece the kid. Like I don't like what do you mean? Like what do you want?
Bro, I don't know what that 17-year-old did to him on the court, bro. In a pickup game, you gotta pull a gun on him. He was getting busy. He was getting busy.
How many players pull up and play outside of the league?
You just
right?
glitched out for a second. Start that over again.
I've seen
Powerade. You don't take shit from nobody.
Like what do they want us to do? So I've seen a lot of players that have pulled up to play like outside of the league. I think back to Kevin Durant when he pulled up to Rutgers Park, bro, and bro dropped over 60. You got to think when KD pulled up to that court, how many New Yorkers were out there probably heckling him at the time simply because he's Kevin Durant, only for him to go out there and prove why he is one of the best players in the world and shut everybody up. If I'm Ja Morant and I'm pulling up and playing a random pickup game, you mean to tell me that a 17-year-old kid pissed you off that bad, said something that bad to where you and your boys gotta leave a knot in his head, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
I didn't even think about that.
If I am Ja Morant,
he was just getting busy.
Like this is this guy like the number one? Was the guy he fought like the number one recruit in OTE? Like did he get in his head that much? Like there's no way I'm dropping 40 on someone and still pulling a gun on them. Apparently, I'm not accusing Ja of it. I'm just saying like let's just look at that hypothetical situation. Yeah. Imagine you're an NBA superstar, and if you are, you should be cooking this dude and then pulling a gun on him because he said brick. Like yeah, like bro. But I mean, speaking of point guards that are shooting. Damian Lillard. Let's transition into our next segment here. Damian Lillard has obviously been a huge topic of discussion as of recently, rightfully so. The guy's been going off lately. 71 points is his most notable performance coming earlier this week, was it? I believe, right? I can't remember how many days ago it was.
Yeah. Oh, first, before we get into the Dame Lillard, sorry, I have to bring this up because someone was comparing. They were a Blazers fan, really good TikTok account. I like him a lot, but he was comparing Book's 70-piece to Dame's 70-piece to Spida's 70-piece, and which was the most impressive? I think it was clearly Donovan's. Not only did he do it to win, only did he go to overtime and took the team to overtime off the free throw miss. I don't care that he had the extra minutes to do it. Donovan, saying you were literally in New York. Well, yeah, we watched that game.
I was with
I was running around my house. I was running around my house.
That was insane. That was clearly insane, bro. Genuinely, like that was the first time I watched a player, and especially in an overtime situation, shoot a shot, and I knew the ball was going in. You know what I mean? Like, you ever have those feelings in your gut where you're like, this is in. Like, if this misses, I will genuinely be surprised. Those heat checks he took when he pulled that three in overtime, I was like, wow. Like that that crisp sound of the net swishing.
They were more pressure packed.
Yeah, like that's what I like. Donovan Mitchell dropped 71 in a must-win situation. Damian Lillard dropped 71 against a team who hasn't won a game since God knows when. And Devin Booker got a 70-piece on a team that hasn't won a game since God knows when. Like those Suns teams were booty cheeks, right? So I definitely agree with you there, Hoop. But let's sort of go back to Damian Lillard.
He got muscles for no reason. Eric Bledsoe.
A big portion. A big portion of our show is talking about Damian Lillard because the way the media is presenting him right now, there's been a few discussions between us internally on Damian Lillard and if he's overrated. We had a few talks about that. Now we're on the pod. Let's talk about it here. And I'm going to lay out some stuff from my end. I want you guys to come in, discuss with me. I'm going to keep taking breaks so we can talk about each point I bring up. But ultimately, I'm going to start off with this. Do I believe Damian Lillard is overrated this season? No, absolutely not. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that Damian Lillard, his career and his accomplishments are overrated. And I'm going to explain my reasoning why. Damian Lillard, as a player, is undoubtedly, to me, no discussion, a top 5 scoring point guard of all time. His ability to shoot off the dribble, create his own shot, score at will, he's up there with Steph, Big O, Russ, and Jerry West. And I'm not saying in that particular order. You can mix those guys around, but I'm talking about players who have strictly played the point guard position their whole career, not James Harden for that season or two. I'm not counting that. And I'm looking for at least 6-7 seasons of playing at that level. That's why I haven't included Luka yet. Luka will 110% enter that conversation. So don't go at me for not saying Luka yet. He's just still a little too young. I need to see more. I 100% believe that Damian Lillard deserves to be in the discussion amongst the best of the best if we're talking talent, right? But when comparing careers and the ability to win, Damian Lillard has been to the playoffs 8 times, bounced out the first round 5 times. 2 of those times he was swept. And in those 2 first-round series, he shot only 50% once in one game, and it was a clean 50%, shooting 12 for 24, and they still lost by 20+. Outside of that game, he only shot over 45% once, and he shot 46.2%, going 12 for 26. Every other game, he had horrendous shooting numbers. Horrendous. And it's not just those swept series that he shoots bad. If you go look at Damian Lillard's playoff log game for game, you will find a lot, and I mean it's lot of bad shooting percentages. Yeah. Very bad, right? But when we think of Damian Lillard, what do we think? And Hoop said it best. I'm not going to say that this is me saying it because Hoop was the one who brought this idea to my head. If I have a child in 20 years and I want to show him players, right? Hoop said it best. Damian Lillard as a highlight reel, that guy will think he's the GOAT, right? And that's what Damian Lillard is to me, a highlight reel type player. But what about his ability to actually win? In the 61 games Damian Lillard has played in the playoffs, he is 41.2% from the field on 19.9 attempts from game. A guy who was notorious in the media for folding in the playoffs, Russell Westbrook, has played 111 games and has shot 40.8% from the field, only 0.4% less than Damian Lillard, on 20.9 attempts a game on an extra attempt. Cook. Another player people love to pin for having playoff woes, James Harden. What do we think of James Harden when we think of James Harden in the playoffs? Can't win, can't do anything, right? And always folds for his team. James Harden in 149 games played. So let me do math in my head real quick. 88 games more played in the playoffs. Shoots 42.6% from the field on 16 attempts per game. I bring up these two guys because when we think of superstars that fold, we don't mention Damian Lillard's name. Nobody wants to bring him up. Damian Lillard to me is a regular season player. But James Harden, Russell Westbrook, guys who produce at around the same level as Damian Lillard, they're not much different when it comes to playoff time. We bash those guys like crazy. Like those guys' legacy go down the drain when we mention the playoffs. People love to mention that. We don't ever bring it up for Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard somehow was a top 75 player in the NBA, but we'll get to that later. But when it comes to Damian Lillard, again, a blind eye is given by the media when it comes to playoff time, and I think a huge factor of that comes off his highlight reels. That 40-foot shot or 30-foot shot against the Thunder to win the series. The 0.9 seconds left on the clock against Houston, hits a shot. Beautiful shots, amazing clutch moments. I'm not hating on them for that. Those are beautiful plays, right? But you can look at a single highlight, a few highlights, and be like, "Oh, this guy's clutch when it comes to playoff time.
There's
this guy gets it done in playoff
definitions of clutch, and that's where I think that the difference is.
Right.
Damian Lillard in a close game on a nationally televised night in the regular season can close a game, and he can close playoff games if he's in the situation to do so. But there's a difference between showing up in a big game where the defense tightens up in the playoffs and closing out a game that is already, close to being a grasp. Like he's a good last shot shooter, unlimited confidence, that kind of guy. But there's a lot of, James Harden was great at closing out games. He doesn't have, the collection of buzzer beaters, but there's a lot of guys who close out games. Russ can close out games. Didn't he have one against Denver that's like all time great?
Yeah, and that dunk he had on Houston in the playoffs to win the game, right? Like, again, But when it comes to Damian Lillard, because Damian Lillard has that ability to shoot the ball from quite literally anywhere once he passes half court, and he will hit those shots sometimes. Sometimes he does take that heat check. Against, a perfect example is that series against Denver. Remember when he just kept hitting shot after shot in the bubble?
I think that's the greatest game ever played. Like, I think
he has his moments.
Yeah.
He has his moments. I'm not saying he doesn't. But so do guys like James Harden, so do guys like Russell Westbrook, so do so many other stars that don't get the same amount of recognition as Damian Lillard does when we are comparing players. People always, every time Damian Lillard is mentioned, people are always like, oh yeah, you put him on a contending team. Oh, he's going to do this and that. Oh, you do this. You put Damian Lillard in this situation. Oh, this and that, this and that. Here's my issue with Damian Lillard in that statement. And I said this to Hoop right before the episode. Damian Lillard is not a first option player. Guys like Luka, Jokic, KD, Steph, LeBron, Kawhi, these are examples of first option players that you build around. These are players that have proved that they can win on their own, and they need those extra pieces to push them to be a contender. A perfect example of this is Luka in the playoff run last year. Imagine if Luka had a solidified big or someone beside him on that Dallas team and what he was doing. That's a ring. That's a ring, bro. If Luka can take your team to the Western Conference Finals and he beat the Suns in the process, not only did he beat the Suns, he embarrassed the Suns to the point where I will remember that for the rest of my life. That is a guy where I could genuinely say you get him some more help, they'll do something. You build a proper team around him, they'll do something. But with Damian Lillard, for me, he is not the player you get help. Rather, he is the player that others look for when they need help. He is the perfect player to say, LeBron needs another player beside him, go get Damian Lillard. Him and LeBron will cook. But you don't say, go get Damian Lillard, LeBron James. Damian Lillard isn't the guy that's going to lead the forefront on any contending roster. He's not. That's the reality of it. Damian Lillard is the guy that these other first option solidified superstars look for when they want to get a ring. You put Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard together, and you build a roster around them. Kevin Durant's always going to be the first guy, 100%, but Damian Lillard's that perfect second option. You know what I mean? And that's how I see Damian Lillard as. Look at Harden and Westbrook, exactly.
Prime example.
Thank you. And sorry, I lost myself in my notes here.
If I could just interject, like as far as going overrated, as far as being overrated goes, you mentioned the top 75. As like I'm assuming you're ranking a lot off accolades and what he's done in his career. Like obviously he's a great player, but what has he done? You're saying he's overrated.
Well, not only that, there's both reasons. There's both. In both cases, you could say that Damian Lillard's not a top 75 player. If we want to talk just as a player on what he's done in his career, even though he can't win in the playoffs, that's not his fault. He was by himself. Dwight Howard. Why isn't Dwight Howard on that list then? Right. But if you want to talk, guys who only should have accolades and who have proven they can win, why isn't Klay Thompson on that list? Right. In both cases, in any point you make about Damian Lillard making the top 75 list, I can bring up a player that should have made it over him. Here's a great player. It's a great player where it's like, I have to think about it. Who should have made it first, Damian Lillard or Vince Carter? Damian Lillard has a very Vince Carter type career to me, where he's always seen as this like, you look at Vince Carter's highlight reel, he is hitting deep threes, all these clutch moments, everything, blah, 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 yada this, yada that. We didn't grow up with Vince Carter though, right? You go take a deep, or go look in depth in his stats. Go look at what happened when playoff time came, right? You see a lot of fall offs. I'm
a little mixed. Do you think Klay Thompson is better than Damian Lillard?
As a player who deserved to be on the top 75 players of all time?
So,
yes.
See, I cannot. I just can't with a straight face say that Klay Thompson is better than Damian Lillard. I can't.
It's not.
But here's the thing. It's not about Klay Thompson being a better player.
He is a player. Oh no, I understand your definition of greatness. I'm saying that's not my definition.
No, but that's no. But I'm not saying if you want to say Klay Thompson. My point was that Klay Thompson deserved to make it over Damian Lillard. My point was if you want to say that the top 75 list was based on players, what they did as a player, well then Dwight Howard should have made it over Damian Lillard. But if the top 75 list was also based off of accolades and stuff, then why didn't Klay Thompson make it over him? I'm saying in both cases, in any way you grade or you rank the top 75 list, it made no sense that Damian Lillard made it.
Well, I mean, I'd be taking Dolph Shays off that list and all those old guys, but that's just
sure. But I'm pretty sure they just added to the top 50 list.
They did.
Right? Yeah. But do you get the point I'm trying to make here?
I understand
the way that
your
Damian
point.
Lillard made the list. It's like I'm not saying if you say Damian Lillard made it over Klay Thompson, I'd say like okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Damian Lillard can make it over Klay Thompson if you want to consider player by player, because Klay Thompson isn't doing all that stuff on his own the way Damian Lillard did. Even though Damian Lillard didn't do much. Sorry for the stutter. But why isn't Dwight Howard there then? If we're gonna go based on player versus player or what a player was able to do on his own, why isn't Dwight Howard there then?
We all knew that was BS. That was
right? Exactly, right? So in both cases, it makes no sense any way you want to look at making that top 75 list, it made no sense that Damian Lillard made it. No sense.
And here's my thing. I want to chime in right now because when I am evaluating Damian Lillard, right, I think to myself, like I think I told y'all in the BF meeting we had, I said if my kid comes up to me in 20 years and asks me, Dad, how good was Damian Lillard? What am I gonna say to my kid? Well, bro won a Rookie of the Year, 6-time like All NBA, 7-time All Star, 2 walk-off playoff buzzer beaters, and then I'm gonna stop. Like
the year he won, Anthony Davis was injured. I'm just saying.
Fair point. Fair point. Here's the thing. And in that Rookie of the Year season, did y'all know Dame played all 82 games and led the league in minutes? Did y'all know that? That year, he led the league in minutes.
I didn't know
right?
that.
So here's my thing about Dame. When
Is
we're
that
talking
Terry
about
Stotts?
Yeah, I believe so. Terry, I think it was Terry
L
Stotts.
coach.
Shut up.
That's actually, I did not know that.
That's actually insane.
That's something. That's
it's
really
crazy.
Cool stat.
It's wild.
That's
But
a
here's
really cool
but
stat.
here it's cool. It's cool for now. Let's look at what was going on in Portland and around that time when Dame touches down, right? We're transitioning away from the Brandon Roy era, right? And we're in the midst of the LaMarcus Aldridge era. And so then when Dame walks into Portland, he's expecting for him and LaMarcus Aldridge to have that, big brother, little brother type dynamic, right? Which is completely fair. I would have thought the exact same thing if I was Dame. But fast forward into his sophomore year, we get to that Rockets game, right? That Rockets series in the first round, LaMarcus Aldridge averaging 29 and 11, Dame averaging 26 and 6, Dwight Howard averaging 27 and 14. Like it was
that idea that he never had help is
you know what I'm saying? Because Damian Lillard walks into a situation.
Are we saying sophomore Dame though has help, and that's
we're not saying that entirely. What I'm saying is Damian Lillard walked into a situation where he
walked into a better situation than most.
Than most
guys.
Say that.
But
that's what I'm saying. But when we fast forward though, because he had LaMarcus for I think 2 or 3 years before he made the trip to San Antonio and joined. I take
that back. He's in Portland. He's not in a good situation regardless of what talent he has.
Exactly. So we can say that definitively that he is chilling in freaking Portland, Oregon.
He had a decent team, but Portland's always a bad situation.
Exactly. So here's another thing that I have an issue with when people talk about Damian Lillard not having any help. While it's true to a certain extent, when we look at Portland in those years where they were winning like 50 games, 47 or more type games, like it would have been beneficial to me if I'm Damian Lillard and I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, I need some help and we can't get it in the way that a Golden State can go get KD or a Miami can go get LeBron James or a Boston can make a stupid trade with Brooklyn and end up thinking that that's going to pay off with Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. But we don't have that luxury. So you would think that a leader and or an organization or front office would say to themselves, well, tanking doesn't seem like a bad option for a year or two just to try our luck at the lottery and see where we can end up. But Dame was winning them a lot of regular season games, forcing them to not have that great of luck in, draft selections. They got Anthony Simons has been the best thing they got besides Shaedon Sharpe. But other than that, like they're not like Portland can't really help them if they're winning regular season games and making it into the playoffs every damn year. So it's a situation where on top of Portland being a terrible front office, or a terrible destination rather, you can't place the blame that much on the front office unless you wanted to say because they were overpaying Evan Turner and Mo Harkless and Alan Crabb and all of that.
Alan
you know
Crabb.
What I'm saying? like you can.
I'm just not going to say that so you're saying it's not the front office's fault that the Blazers couldn't build a team.
It's a mix of both.
Well, I understand that, but to say that it's Dame's fault for winning the regular season games so they can't that's where it seems where you're going.
Yeah. I think I do definitely put some blame on the front office on why Portland has not been able to win. They have not been able to construct a great team around Damian Lillard. 100%, I get that. But at the same time, it's like I've seen guys who, and again, this isn't a knock to Damian Lillard. There's a very short list of guys who can win on their own. This is a known fact. Damian Lillard is not on that list, but we act like he is a player that could be on that list. That's my issue with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is not in any way whatsoever am I saying he is a bad player or is overrated in terms of his talent, right? But again, he's not a first option, and he's not a guy where if you put him in a series like a LeBron James, a Luka Doncic, a Jokic, guys on that level where it's like, okay, well, this team's going to have a hard time because they got to play this guy. I don't care what the team is around him. They got to play him, right? You got to play him. You're going to run into some trouble. I don't think that with Damian Lillard, and there's good reason to believe why you don't think that with Damian Lillard. Look at his playoff history.
And
right?
people also
I don't
say,
think that with Jason Tatum. I'm sorry.
I didn't say Tatum. I didn't say
No.
Tatum.
I was just saying because I'll let Z talk. I'm sorry, I'm a Jason Tatum hater, but this is just kind of become my narrative.
We gotta mention something between Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant at some point.
We do.
Oh,
But I also
yeah.
So me and Sandy were talking before the episode. First off, Jason Tatum's a great player. I'm not doing that, but I just don't think he's a superstar. I want to build a hypothetical team where Dame is the best player on the Blazers. What that would look like, because Sandy was saying, "Oh, anyone could build, a perfect team around it," but doesn't mean it's going to work.
It's not realistic.
I think it might not work even if you try. So can we try to what pieces fit perfectly with Lillard, where he's still the first option, and I still don't think they'll be runaway favorite for the finals. Who would we put around him?
It's very hard to build a team where Damian Lillard is the number one option.
If you had unlimited money, what would you guys do on the Blazers? Mikal Bridges.
Are we assuming the players we put around him are willing to not be the first option? Because I can just pair him with another superstar, like an Embiid or something, right? But just assume Embiid's going to be the one.
No. They got to be worse than Dame.
Right. Okay, so there you go. I don't know.
I'd give him somebody better than Yusuf Nurkic for 7 years.
It would be like maybe not Ayton.
I put like Miles Turner at the 5.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 4.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges at the 3, and at the 2, give him like CJ McCollum again.
And that's still not a perfect.
That's still not. You know what I mean? Like that's just off the top of my head. That's not like the perfect
Yeah.
situation, but that's a pretty good team, right? Like a team that seems to cater around Damian Lillard's weaknesses and the weaknesses of the Trailblazers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's like, bro, what can I do with that?
Here's my thing.
Am I going to the second, third round even? Like, and then what? Am I beating the Celtics? Am I beating am I beating the Suns? Like, you got to think in that way, right?
And another thing that I wanted to point to is how people are so quick to say, people like to use the Warriors as like a scapegoat in the Damian Lillard, like, oh, he could never win. He was playing with the Warriors. The same way they did with James Harden. And when we had that James Harden debate, I was able to tell you that when you look at the numbers in general, James Harden had games where he just didn't show up compared to a Steph Curry or a Klay Thompson or anybody else they had on their team. So for Damian Lillard, for example, when we talk about like the first time he ran into the Warriors in 2016, y'all remember Steph didn't play in that series until game 4. The Portland Trailblazers were going up against Klay Thompson and Draymond Green that year. Granted, they won 73 games.
KD was injured, right?
KD wasn't there that year. This was the year before he got there. This is the year before he got there.
Kevin Durant also got injured in the other Portland series, right?
Right. And so this it's a little bit of a trend here, but we go to 2016. Games 1, 2, and 3, they don't have Steph. Steph comes back in game 4 and 5 and literally shuts them out in 2 games, right? Klay was averaging 31 that series, if I'm not mistaken. We fast forward to next year, 2017. They have Kevin Durant, so there's a legit argument there where it's like, you're not going to be able to do anything. And then we get to 2018. Christian told us, Pelicans, first round. Trailblazers are the favorites. Damian Lillard got locked up by Drew Holiday and averaged 18 a game on 17% shooting, I believe. Cousins wasn't there. He wasn't there. Now, granted, Anthony Davis was averaging over 30 in that series, but did y'all know Drew Holiday was averaging like 27 a game? That's 7 more points than Dame was averaging. Damn near 10 more points than Dame was averaging on better efficiency.
I remember there was a whole thing of Drew Holiday, like literally like the Drew Holiday holding Damian Lillard, like one of those like dad memes, like because he was locking him up. I remember that, but I didn't even think about that.
Think about that. Then we can fast forward. We can fast forward another year to 2019.
Drew killed him that series, bro.
He murked him. 2019.
Drew killed him.
2019, a lot of people like to talk about 2019 Portland Dame as the one that hit the walk-off against OKC. What they don't like to talk about, however, is what happened after that first-round series against the Thunder. Damian Lillard fell off tremendously after that series in the next 2 rounds. Mind you, they went to a 7-game series with the Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken, that year in the second round. And in that game 7, Dame had like 13 points on 3 of 17 shooting.
I'm sorry.
In the game 7.
I'm looking up this Blazers versus Pelicans playoff series, and I don't want to push Dame hate, but you could make a genuine argument. I mean, I have to go back and watch, but Al-Farouq Aminu outperformed Dame this series.
CJ McCollum definitely did.
Bro, Damian Lillard, just real quick for the viewers, Damian Lillard, game 1 shot 6 for 23, game 2 7 for 18, game 3 5 for 14, game 4 7 for 16. His best game, he shot 7 for 16, and in the game he shot 6 for 23, they only lost by 2. So that should tell you how it was this Pelicans team was very beatable. The Pelicans only beat the Portland Trailblazers by double digits in 1 game, and that came in game 3. They beat them by 17.
Yeah,
And
game 1
Damian
they won
Lillard
by
shot
2,
5 for
right?
14. Yeah, game 1 they won by 2. Game 2 they won by 9. Game 4 they won by 8. And
It's
Damian
insane.
Lillard shot terribly in every single one of those games. The best he shot from 3 was 4 for 9 from 3 in game 1, but he shot 6 for 23 in total. Other than that, 1 for 7 from 3, 3 from 9 from 3, 1 for 5 from 3. Oh my God, 7 turnovers in
Yeah,
game 2,
I mean,
8 turnovers in game 3.
moral of
7
this-
turnovers in
yeah.
game 2, 8 turnovers in game 3. Bro, he was
So
bad.
mind
He
you,
was bad. Only 2 assists in game 3.
Moral
6
of the
assists.
story: Dame is
Wow.
not
Wow.
the world.
when we talk
beater.
about Damian Lillard, can we really talk about him as one of the greatest playoff performers we've ever seen, or can we talk about how he had the 2 greatest playoff walk-off performances we ever saw?
No one's
That's
ever
it.
only.
No,
someone
he's
who's
not
never
one of the
watched
greatest playoff
basketball
performers.
No one ever said
No
he
one
was
says that.
Right.
Yeah, I
no one said
agree.
that.
But we do overrate him as a player.
Yes,
100%.
We
We
do.
do overrate
Sure.
him as a player, and mind you, I do love what I'm seeing from Damian Lillard right now, but does this not feel like deja vu where we see Damian Lillard have a crazy stretch in the regular season and then it amounts to nothing? Is that only me, or am I tripping?
You're
right
right. You're
I
right,
always
bro.
see this like Damian Lillard going off for a stretch of games. He does this, he does that. And rightfully so. Like the guy can have some crazy games, hit some crazy shots. But again, to my point, the pressure of him being a number 1 option and winning as a number 1 option, that's never going to work out, unfortunately. And I want him to make me eat my words and prove me wrong, because I love it when I see players, for example, Giannis, a guy where we're like, he's never going to win a ring if he stays here, and they do it. I love seeing stories like that. I'm not being a hater when I say this, but you do have to be realistic. Just because one person does it doesn't mean everybody's going to do it, because there's only 1 ring to give out at the end of every season. And there's a whole lot of guys ready to go get it that are in a much better position than Damian Lillard, that are much better players than Damian Lillard, and that can get the job done better than Damian Lillard. So for us to put him on this pedestal compared to other players, come playoff time, not regular season. And I hate when we bring up regular season things when I'm talking about the playoffs, okay? The only thing I care about is the playoffs. I don't give a damn what you do in the regular season. And like I told Hoop right before the episode, see you weren't here. No, listen, like I told Hoop, when we're talking all time, I'm talking greatness right now. You cannot be a top 20, top 25 player of all time if you're not performing in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
That's just it. That's it. I don't want to hear this discussion of them being a legend greatness, because to me, for you to be top 25, even top 30, you have to be a playoff performer, right? You have to both. For example, Kawhi Leonard, I consider him to be at least top 30. What the hell does that guy do in the regular season? Kawhi doesn't care about the regular season. Come playoff time, that boy's a dog. That boy's a dog in the playoffs. Bro, if you compare Kawhi stats to other legends, he averages like 16 points for his career or something? Like that's just a number off the top of my head.
It looks mid.
It looks really bad, right? When coming to playoff, I dare you to put them together against each other in the playoffs. I dare you. I dare you to put Kawhi Leonard against any other top tier players in the playoffs.
Just eating Harden's lunch.
100%. 100%. And that's why I'm saying for me personally, when I rank players, you also have to factor in playoffs or whatever, right? Come playoff time, so please stress that. Is Damian Lillard a top 10 player in the NBA? Come playoff time. I don't think so.
Name value wise, he is to the masses.
So I'll say this. There's an issue with saying there's only 7 true first options in the league. And then with the next extras, we'd rank second options who are in the right position as opposed to second options in the wrong position. If Dame was not in the Blazers and he was a second fiddle to Giannis, the narrative on him would be completely shifted. It's Dame's this, incredible second option. And I do think we can value him as like a fringe top 10 player, since a lot of those second fiddles are at the bottom of the top 10. You're muted, by the way.
Come playoff time.
This season,
I have to see it. See it. That's the thing. I can say Damian Lillard will work out as a second option, and I believe that. But there's a difference between belief and fact.
Yeah, you gotta see it first.
And a guy like Jaylen Brown has done it, where Jaylen Brown, if Tatum, by the way, the most inconsistent, if you want to label him a superstar, fine. The most inconsistent superstar this season, 100%. And come playoff time, he's the most inconsistent guy in the playoffs. The only reason the Celtics make it that far when Jason Tatum starts to play poorly, who turns up? Jaylen Brown. Right? I'll take Jaylen Brown over Damian Lillard in the playoffs. I will. Because Jaylen Brown has proven to me that when the pressure needs to be taken off Jason Tatum, when they need somebody to turn up, who turns up? Jaylen Brown. Am I saying Damian Lillard wouldn't turn up if he was in that same situation? No, but I don't know if he will. Look at his numbers as a first option. Why would I bet that Damian Lillard will shoot good if Jason Tatum starts to play poorly, if they were in that position, right? I can't, because it hasn't happened. I haven't seen it, but I've seen Jaylen Brown do it.
Yeah, and if anybody out there wanted listen to Saney and quoted him on that last statement of, I don't know if Damian Lillard could do it as a second option based off of what I see as a first option, a lot of people are going to sit back and say, well, why wouldn't he be able to do it? He was the number one guy on his team, so obviously that might be why his playoff numbers are skewed and his efficiency is skewed. Well, why is he in that situation to begin with, ladies and gentlemen? Why? This is my biggest issue with Dame. I love Damian Lillard, the player. I really, really do. Damian Lillard, the Portland Warrior, pisses me off because I don't know unless Dame knows something that we don't about the front office in Portland, bringing in Kevin Durant or bringing in Klay Thompson, bringing somebody, anybody. Unless Dame knows something that we don't, unless the front office promised him something that we don't know, how the hell can we even sit here and say it ain't Dame's fault? Dame doesn't want to leave Portland, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't. For some reason, Damian Lillard believes in his heart of hearts that Portland is going to be the place to have a championship parade in the near future.
I don't think he believes
he believes in a $200 million contract. That's what he believes in. And I respect that 100%. I'm not hating on him. Like, go get the bag, bro. It's very hard to get a ring. Go secure your family for generations. 100%. Respect. 100%. I'm just saying, again, don't take my statement as me saying Damian Lillard wouldn't perform as even a second option. I just told you I believe he would. But when we're ranking top 10 players right now, you can't rank your judgment on Damian Lillard based off of belief of what he could do if he was in a different situation. You can't.
Right.
Because what he's shown in his current situation is that he can't get it done. So until I see him get it done in a different situation, I'm going to rank other guys who have proved they can get it done, who have proved themselves in the playoffs. So that's why, personally, Damian Lillard, to me, is he a top 10 player come playoff time?
You know someone who's proved himself in the playoffs? Jalen Brunson.
100%.
The New York Knicks are
100%.
the 5th seed in the East. Sorry, we got to move on, but we got like 10 minutes.
Wait. Before me saying 100%, I'm not saying I'll take Jalen Brunson.
No, yeah. It was just a smooth transition into the next topic.
It's a smooth transition,
But the Knicks right now, I mean, I've been trying to say somewhat quiet. I haven't made a video on TikTok going on a rant or any of that, but we need to start talking about the Knicks playoff expectations. They're in the thick of it in the East. They're threatening Cleveland for the 4 spot. They're 37-27, which is like if you would have told people to start the season, they would have looked at you like you had 4 eyes. 7 in a row, all with Josh Hart. I think he's brought an edge to the team that's defensive, and it's a perfect clog or a perfect piece for them to play in the fourth quarter instead of RJ Barrett. But as people saying, you said you watched a lot of the Knicks recently. I was wondering what your take is on them right now and on them come playoff time. I'll go mine last because I can talk for a while.
Looking at the Knicks' remaining schedule and looking at the way they're playing, correct me if my math is wrong, but in order for them to have a 50 win season, they have to go 13-5 in their last few games. I believe the Knicks are going to do this, and I believe they're going to secure a top 4 seed in the East. I think it's very possible. I think they have that home court advantage. I think the 3 big dogs of the East are obviously Sixers, Bucks, and Celtics, right? I really do like the Knicks, and I think they're a second-round exit because once you get to the second round, you have to play one of those teams. And unfortunately, I don't think they'll get like destroyed, swept, or anything unless it's like the Bucks or the Celtics. I think they can give the Sixers a run for their money, but they're a second-round exit to me. But to call a team a second-round exit in the East is a compliment when you compare who they're going to 99% they're going to have to play in the playoffs in the second round, any East team, because we all know those 3 big dogs are going to make it. They're going to go. That's just the reality of it, right? I think even if the Knicks don't become a top 4
I can
seed,
see Miami working
spot,
Philly. There's a possibility there.
Sure, but even then, I still think Philly makes it to the second round.
Sure. I'd bet my money on Philly.
The Knicks and the Knicks, even if they don't get to a 4 seed, I still think they make it to the second round because who are they going to play? The Cavs. It's a big chance that no matter what happens in the season, whether they win or don't win, it looks like their first round matchup is going to be the Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, notorious for folding in the playoffs. I mean, he plays great, but he always finds a way to lose. So I'm not going to be surprised if the Cavs lose and the Knicks go ahead and take that dub. I really like the Knicks. And if you hear the thing I just said and call my statement casual, call me a casual. I've been getting called a casual a lot lately. We'll get to that point later. Keep in mind, you're a superstar, and yes, this is to everybody at the chalkboard. Jason Tatum just shot 6 for 18 against the Knicks, and the Knicks beat your Celtics by 15. Game after, the Knicks destroy the Nets by, 25,
There was no Jaylen Brown, but when they did have Jaylen Brown, we beat him anyway. But
yeah, like the Celtics. Now, I'm not saying in a series that the Knicks win, but I'm just saying the Knicks are proving that they can win big games, and I love to see that. The Knicks, I love them. I'm a big believer of them making it to the second round. I'm gonna be honest with you, Hoop. I hated on them. I said the Pistons were gonna be better than the Knicks.
Yeah.
No. I see. Notice how you guys forgot, and I'm bringing it up.
Pistons.
Notice how you guys forgot, and I'm bringing
I
it
did
up.
not
I'm
forget.
apologizing.
I was just holding my receipts until the end of the season.
I'm apologizing.
Appreciate
I'm
you.
apologizing.
Appreciate you.
Okay. Heading into the season, I believed I had high expectation for the Pistons. I thought a lot of guys were going to stay with them, right? Cade Cunningham got injured for the season. I was expecting a much bigger jump from Cade Cunningham and not as big of a jump from Jalen Brunson, which is why I made that take that I thought the Pistons were going to be like a 30 to 35 win team, and I put the Knicks on that same level. The Knicks made some great moves. RJ Barrett didn't pan out. That's what I expected, but Jalen Brunson ended up taking over. Julius Randle ended up taking over. I did not see that coming. Hoop is a Knicks fan. I guess he saw it coming, or he's just a delusional Knicks fan, and it just worked out for him this one season.
I said they
and it just worked out for him this one season.
I didn't even expect them to be this good.
But I'm apologizing. I'm bringing this up now. I did say the Pistons would be better than the Knicks. I ranked them one spot over the Knicks. A lot of things happened, but even if that Pistons team is fully healthy, the way the Knicks panned out, I'm taking the Knicks, obviously. Keep in mind, I made this opinion back in like July. Screw off. But I think they're a second round exit. Z, I don't know what you want to say about that, but
well, moving on to Z, you are someone who is a former Knicks fan, just hopped off the train before the season started to the Warriors. I'd like to hear your thoughts on your former squad.
I can honestly say definitively that the 2 years that I was watching the Knicks, because Rose was there, obviously, were two of the most like exciting yet train wrecks in terms of how the season ended, right? So the reason that I hopped off the Knicks train, which first of all, the only reason I was there before was because Derrick Rose was traded there first in 2017 and then ended up being back in 2021. So my reasons for being there had nothing to do with Julius Randle, had nothing to do with RJ Barrett. I could give two less of a shit. But I will say that 2021 playoff run against the Hawks was great for me to watch Derrick Rose be the best player on the entire Knicks in that playoff series. That to me was great, let alone I just wanted to see Rose show the world that if you give him an opportunity, he can still hang with the best of them. And in that series alone, definitively Derrick Rose was the best player for the Knicks in that 5-game series. So back to this offseason though. I originally left the New York Knicks because I was tired of following Rose from team to team. He's 34 years old. He's getting older. And the reason that I was following him around this long was because I was hoping he would land on a contender like a Milwaukee Bucks or something like that. I would be fine doing that. You know what I'm saying? But now I look back in my older years and I say to myself, well, I was a Rose fan for so long, and the only other team that I ever rooted for, because I used to say to myself as a kid, I got an Eastern Conference team in the Bulls at that time, and I was like, I need a Western Conference team. And I always liked the Warriors. The Warriors are always my second favorite team to watch, despite watching Derrick Rose. So I'm glad with my decision. We'll get to the Warriors maybe a little bit later, maybe in the next episode. But for the New York Knicks, I will say that I do not expect them to be bounced out of the first round. The only reason I'm saying that is because Jalen Brunson is there. Jalen Brunson is a hooper, straight up. For everybody that thought that Jalen Brunson was overpaid at the beginning portions of the season, shut up, okay? He wasn't overpaid. Bro is him. Bro can hoop. Have you seen his pivot work? It's insane for someone that small. And he's a lefty. Like, what do you want? He's a facilitator. What Jalen Brunson did in the first couple of weeks of the season alone, his assist-to-turnover ratio was absolutely insane and incredible for a point guard, right? All of those things I looked at, and I was looking at the makeup of the team. They went away from it being a Julius Randle-led offense and things of that nature. They adjusted. Props to New York. Big props. Do I think this Knicks team can beat the Hawks if they rematch in the playoffs this year? Yes. Yes, I do.
that's not even
a question. Ice Trey is really going to get it if he ends up back in Madison Square Garden and those fans get to say you're balding, but they have Jalen Brunson at the helm. Like, imagine. Just imagine.
I know we had a big thing for you, and I want to really go in depth with that next segment, so we should probably hold off till next episode because I don't want to just mention the fact and then not talk about it. So we're going to keep it a little secret from now.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to say one last thing about the Knicks. Hoop, I don't know if you have any more you want to talk on.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to give a little bit of my Knicks.
So I'm going to let Hoop talk.
My expectations yet.
We're nearing the end of the episode, so I'm going to let Hoop talk about his little Knick rant.
Well,
and then
yeah. So the only team that handles the Knicks in the playoffs is the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that is a 5-game series max. We always match up horribly with the Bucks. Brunson cannot beat Giannis, and especially if they're fully healthy, that's what I'm counting on. But the Cavaliers, if you were to ask me like to bet money on where the Knicks would fall, I think the Knicks beat the Cavs in 7, and that's maybe me being a fan, but I think it's a good series. I think it goes to 6 or 7 either way. And I think we take 2 games off the Celtics, at least. I would not be shocked out of my body if you told me the Knicks beat the Celtics in 7. It would be a miracle, but they match up really well against them. They have this season. They have in seasons past. I'm not overly scared of the Celtics like I am the Bucks. I think we probably lose to Philly in 6. But to say that the Knicks are, this fluky 2021 Randall was a fluke and all this, I think it shows that you haven't watched much this season. I do think he's changed as a player a lot. He's developed his right hand. I went on another podcast to kind of troll about this before, but his mid-range game is like
Garrett lover.
XX she loves Garrett XX. But Julius Randle does not shoot those contested middies anymore. This whole narrative that he's a bad shot shooter and he's a ISO bucket getter, like, yeah, he still plays ISO ball, but his game in theory is so much more efficient because it's 3s and short 2s, as opposed to this 36% of his shots are from the mid-range, which was 2021. That's why I think Atlanta was so horrible. He shot like 28% from the field. It was awful. Derrick Rose was the only sign of life. I think it's going to be a lot different this time around. I really like Josh Hart. I like Jalen Brunson. RJ Barrett has not done much, and I still think they're going to be pretty good, which is like saying a lot.
I think the biggest difference to Julius Randle compared to the season that they flopped is like how calm he looks when he's playing now, and that like maturity he has in his game. Like I actually enjoy watching Julius Randle because of how smooth it is. Like, for example, like when we watched him in person, like it was cold, bro. Like, he's just like jogging up the court, straight face. He gets the ball top of the key, just pulls it like nothing. And I'm just like, damn, like this guy's him. He's okay. Like, yeah, he's not Westbrook. But he's him. I think this is a good way to end off the episode, but we're not ending yet because I have some things to say. Apparently I'm a casual, and apparently I'm something.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, what is he talking
so
about?
we're gonna
hey,
mention
hold
this.
on. Give him context. So
context.
for y'all watching the episode, if you want to get in on this roasting Saney action, please do so. We're in a chalkboard, which is located. It's like a Discord, but it's specifically for sports and whatnot. We'll have, where do we have the link? You could find it
our bios.
on our bios on TikTok and whatnot.
If you go on Chalkboard, you look up LePodcast.
Please join. There's probably about 10 or 15 of us that are pretty active. But
and then like there's like 400 members around, but like, and they'll come in, but like there's always discussion. You can always come in.
Yeah,
we're very active on it, so we'll talk to you. Like,
it's like a little sports group chat. So if you want to make fun of us, please do so.
Here's the thing: I love when people make fun of me. Like, I think it's funny. I don't mind it. Right? It's just you got to dish it out. You got to take it. Right? I need to read some of the things.
I'm going back and reading it now.
Like, kind of hurt. I was kind of hurt because all I said was that I think Kevin Durant is a better player than Jason Tatum. That is all I said. And Hoop and Z, by the way, 100% agree with me. Like, this is a take that they agree with.
We need someone to get on here and defend Jason Tatum. I feel bad for Celtics fans who listen to the pod.
Hoop, if anything, hates not hates, but like
I'm
trashes on Tatum the most out of the three of us.
I'm vocally anti-Tatum.
I don't. I just said that I think Kevin Durant's better than Tatum. I call Jason Tatum a superstar. Hoop doesn't. And these Tatum fanboys, Connors and Hoop King, okay, I'm gonna call you out by name. They're out here going out my life. They didn't even, bro. They were like, at first they were like, "Oh, you're such a casual. You're an L." I'm like, okay, it's because he's Canadian. I'm like, okay, we're gonna be a little racist, but that's funny. Like, whatever. Okay, haha. I'm not gonna take it deep. And then they're like, yeah, he's the worst out of the three. They're like KD and Russ, and he's like Kendrick Perkins. And I'm just like, I'm reading that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. Thunder joke. Okay. And they keep going. They start sending GIFs of people airballing, saying, this is Sadie. He got cut in his freshman year, blah, blah, blah. He should leave the pod. All this stuff. These two guys.
Hey, we wouldn't be able to do all this tech stuff if Saney wasn't here. So please, we need him here, bro.
I'm sitting there. I'm reading this, and I'm just like, I'm laughing at first. It was funny. I was like, oh, he's a casual. I'm like, I'm a casual. And they just start going at my life. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, they have to be joking. And they would not stop. I'm never going to answer him because it's like, they're like, what, 14? Like, I'm not going to be I'm a grown man. I'm not going to argue with them.
Connors and Hoop King, if you're out there,
please respond.
Yeah, I want to hear. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, damn, like, that's how you guys think of me? I think Kevin Durant's a better player than Jason Tatum, which the other two people on the pod not only agree with me, but agree more than me. I think it's a lot closer than these two.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, he means nothing to the pod. He is nothing.
I just want to say,
I'm just like, damn.
Y'all would not be hearing this right now.
I just want to
wasn't for
say as
Sandy.
well, it comes a moment in time where, I feel like a lot of people walk through lives with trios. This is a trio. This is a brotherhood. So, sometimes we got to come to our brother's defense. So all I did when I saw all of this, Z is OKC KD, Hoop is Russ, Saney's Kendrick Perkins, Z is Kevin Garnett, Hoop is Paul Pierce, Saney's Brian Scalabrine. I'm like, damn, like all he said was something that I feel like a lot of NBA fans would agree with. If I'm Kevin Durant, like Saney just said, if you want to label Jason Tatum a superstar, fine. He's the most inconsistent superstar out of all the superstars. Kevin Durant is a
100%,
legitimate superstar,
100%.
and he ain't as inefficient as Jason Tatum is.
And they brought up the fact that
Which is-
Jason Tatum swept them in the playoffs.
God,
I'm like,
it was
Jason
the
Tatum didn't sweep
Celtics.
Kevin Durant. The Celtics swept the Nets. The Celtics swept the Nets. Kyrie Irving was fasting because it was
Steve Nash, bro.
Like, Steve Nash was the coach. They didn't have a solidified big man. Like, I could give you so many reasons. And the Celtics went to the finals that year. They had a great team around them. And Jason Tatum had the most turnovers in any
Patty
playoff
Mills,
game from a
Goran
player
Dragic,
in
Steph
NBA history.
Curry.
Like, they had 3 guys under 6'3" on the court at one time. But no, Jason Tatum swept Kevin Durant. Jason Tatum
Like, if
swept
you-
Kevin
all
Durant.
I'm gonna
Like,
say
come on,
is-
bro. And listen, I got love for everybody in the chalkboard. I'm
Love
not hating
them.
on these guys, okay? You guys can hate on me all you want.
If y'all
Well,
are
I'm just
Tatum, if
saying.
y'all are Celtics fans, like
You guys
that's cool.
got it. You guys, I got feelings,
But
bro. I got feelings, bro.
I need to get JJ on here because I know like they're coming at us, but
if we
at
get
the same
JJ on here,
time,
we're gonna have 24
my
different
God.
JJs. We're gonna have to.
I understand how hard it is to listen to a pod that's so anti your team because a lot of guys are anti Knicks. So I know how that feels, and because of you guys, I do want to get a Celtics fan on here so we could have a genuine discussion. But until
I'm
that'll
not
happen
even.
later date.
Here's the thing: the one guy that's not anti-Tatum got destroyed. That's the funniest part.
Sandy
I'm not
was like,
even
yeah, I
anti-Tatum.
low key agree, and they're like, oh, Sandy's the bad guy.
Listen, and here's the thing. Anti-Tatum.
I love it though.
Not as anti-Tatum Saney. And honestly, I like Tatum. I just don't think he's better than KD. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't.
That's
Yeah.
I
I use him in 2K.
Like, cool,
I'm gonna
this
get a
guy's
Tatum
good.
jersey. I just don't.
And they're like, "Oh, bro, you think Prime Kyle Lowry's better than Stockton?" I'm like, "Dog, that was clearly a joke that we had on an episode that was dedicated to roasting Stockton."
No, it was not.
I'm pretty sure that we said Ty Lawson was better than John Stockton at one point. Like, it's a joke. It's a joke. But anyway, this is a great way to end off the episode. This was a really good episode. I really like this one. Tune in for episode 56. This was 55. Damn.
Hey, Dame's a dog. He's not.
We all love Dame.
Yeah, I love. Hey, listen, I'm not hating on Damian Lillard, and that's coming from an Oklahoma fan. But let's be realistic. And I put 95% of NBA players, 90% of all stars in general, in the same boat as Damian Lillard. By the way, I'm not hating on him. I'm not going at him specifically, but we got to be real here. But thank you again for listening. We'll see you guys at episode 56. Peace.